is later on this agenda. However, it is budgeted for 2019. So if you incur this expense, it could be incurred this year. However, that will hit the 2018 budget, not the 19 budget.
Right, and that was budgeted for 2019, not 2018.
So if you want all the expense to occur in 2019, I would take that one out, and then we can, Black Mountain will just rescind that invoice and then bill us in January. Otherwise, if you want to just pay the down payment on, just get that part over with, that will be included in the budget amendment.
Brent, are we going to have to make that down payment just to get on their schedule, or are they okay with just billing us in January?
They're okay billing us in January since we're an existing customer with them already.
Okay, all right, yeah,
So-
because I don't want that to cause us to lose our place in line, so to speak, you know what I mean?
Yep. So if you would like it to be approved tonight, that down payment, like I said, it would hit the 18 budget.
I agree.
Right.
If we can't push it to 2019 and they're okay with that, it doesn't affect our,
Okay.
our delivery timeline for the migration, then I think it's a good move to move it to January.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else, Brent? Or-
Nope, that was the only one I wanted to make sure you're aware of. So it would be, if you approve that, it would be remove
Yeah, the Black Mountain.
number 23 for Black Mountain.
Yep, and we'll just push
Yep.
that forward to January 2019 then. Okay? All right, so with that, then I'll accept a motion to accept the consent agenda with the Black Mountain item removed in this go-around.
So moved.
Okay, Chelsea did
I'll
this
second.
motion.
Second.
Brian does a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right.
All right, consent agenda is approved. Okay. Council meeting minutes. Did you guys have a chance to look through that?
Yep.
Which one? I mean, are we supposed to just the first, right?
Yeah, for October 1.
Yeah. Okay. I haven't had a chance to take a look at it. Let me do a quick scan.
Okay. I didn't see anything on there, Brian, but
Yeah, I
Another
don't
set of
see
eyes.
anything.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. No. Yeah. All right. So motion to approve the minutes.
Okay, Brian makes a motion. I guess second.
Second.
Chelsea does a second. All in favor say aye.
All right.
Okay, and we'll move on to the special meeting that we had October 9th. Those minutes for approval. I think that was pretty much cut and dry too, because that was.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the
Yep.
October 9th minutes.
Okay, Chelsea makes a motion. Brian?
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
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 Okay, that special minutes are approved. Okay, so at this time we'll open it up for public comments. Anybody got any questions, concerns, issues they want to bring up? Going once, going twice. All right. We'll move along. Blake Crosby is with us this evening from the North Dakota League of Cities. He's the executive director. He's going to address the council. Welcome, Blake.
Thank you. I'm going to ask for a point of privilege here.
See, he knows how to do this.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to be here this evening. I want to thank the mayor and Brent for looking at that. My name's on
No, it looks like
For the opportunity to be here this evening, I'm going to talk a little bit about potential legislation that I think we're going to have coming down the road. And I'd have to share a little bit, assuming I'll get along to a certain extent. So.
Brian, if you want, I can take a snapshot of this and send it to your phone if you want to take a look at what we're doing here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Situated here.
Power.
Is the mic on? Can I tell?
Should be hot. You should be good. Everything should
I
be.
can't tell if it's on or not.
You go right ahead, I'll sync him up here real quick.
Again, I appreciate the invitation to be here this evening. I'm just gonna share a few things with you about the legislative session coming up. As the mayor said, I am Blake Crosby. I grew up in Raleigh, North Dakota. So my background is in a smaller city. For those of you that might not know where Raleigh is, it's up in the north central part of the state, about 10 miles as the crow flies from the Canadian border. So, this will be the first legislative session where Governor Burgum will be introducing his own budget. When he got elected, it was partly his budget and partly Governor Dalrym's budget. We also will probably see another session where there might be 3 budgets floating around. There could be the governor's budget, the budget from the Senate, and the budget from the House. We had that one session ago when Governor Burgum got elected. That makes things a little bit
Mucky.
difficult to try to address, especially when you're giving testimony, because you don't know if you're testifying on this budget or that budget. But they'll make some decisions early on in the session with the budget they're gonna move forward. That'll happen in the first couple of weeks, and things should calm down a little bit after that. Some of the possible bill drafts that we're going to see coming up in the session is that locally elected officials are going to have to declare a political party affiliation. Republican, Democrat, Independent, Libertarian, whatever. That's a really bad idea.
Mm-hmm.
My cities are nonpartisan. My preference is to keep it that way. As soon as you inject partisan politics, then you've got somebody adhering to the political party dogma instead of doing what's right for their city. So if that comes up, we'll be fighting that one. I do expect another bill to be introduced that will either restrict, severely restrict, or eliminate your extraterritorial authority. That will kill cities faster than anything else that goes on. If you can't expand your boundaries to accept new residential property and new commercial property, you have nowhere to go but up, and this country is not very good for building vertical. Amount of space. And I live in West Fargo. I own a UPS store in Fargo for a number of years. When I took my motorcycle rides, I would frequently come through here. I had a cousin that lived just up north here a little bit. So I've seen your city, I've seen Horace grow over the 5 or 6 years that I've lived in West Fargo. You need that extraterritorial authority. You need to hold on to that. As you're well aware, the city of Fargo got themselves in a little bit of jam on special assessments. Legislators like when that happens because it gives them something to grasp onto. So you can fully expect there'll be conversation about special assessments. And quite frankly, if they want to do away with special assessments, my response is going to be, okay, fine. But tell me where the replacement money is going to come from. That they don't have the answer to. Now, some cities have fees attached to the special assessment process. If they leave the core special assessment language alone, they'll probably go after fees and try to restrict engineering fees, administrative fees, the interest you charge above and beyond what the bond rate may be. So they may look at some of those peripheral costs may come into play. They may leave the core special assessment statute concept alone, but they may mess with those fees. There was a interim taxation met for the last time last Wednesday, and there were some potential draft bills that came up at that interim taxation committee hearing, and we managed to get in the interim most of those set aside. Now, that does not mean that individual legislator cannot still have one drafted and come up with it on their own. But the committee as a whole nicked some deals having to do with sunsetting renaissance zones. That was one of them. The other one is in the special assessment districts, somehow prorating any money left over at the close of the district amongst the property owners in that district. An absolute administrative nightmare. And you think that some of these special assessment districts go 20 or 30 years. Some people pay theirs off early. And not everybody's property is special assessed at the same rate. So it'd be a proration, mathematical bookkeeping nightmare. But we managed to get that off the table. Again, that doesn't mean it may not come back. One of the bills that I know we will see is in removing public property from the protest area. So what the concern is that you have a special assessment district and 51% of it, for instance, belongs to the park board. Well, you need 50% to protest out. If the park board owns 51%, it automatically takes care of any protesting out. So they want to remove the ability of that area, the park district, to be part of the protestable area. In other words, they want to see more protests coming down the and I know that one's coming because that bill came out. We'll also again look at tax incentives like renaissance zones and tax increment financing and pilots. It's difficult to argue that those should go away because they have a good return on investment and it does really encourage private investment to help the city grow. If you look at the renaissance zone districts, shouldn't call them districts, renaissance zones, typically after that 5-year first initial renaissance zone is done, when that property comes back on the tax rolls, you've made up for that 5 years of property tax set aside that you had when it's in the renaissance zone. You make it up in year 1 or year 2. So return on investment for renaissance zone TIFs and pilots is really pretty good. Really pretty good.
What's the legislature's wind on this one? Are they thinking about restricting them, or what are they thinking with this?
They hopefully we've dealt with renaissance zones for the last 2 sessions. I'm hoping that one's been put to bed.
Right.
TIFs, there's not a real common understanding of tax increment financing, and pilots is specific to some of the larger cities so they can add it on to a renaissance zone or to a TIF. So legislators are kind of having a heartburn over a district, I'll use that term loosely, getting more than one sort of tax exemption, even though it's private funds that are being used to increase the value of that particular district, that particular parcel.
Okay. I just wasn't sure which way the winds were blowing on that one. Brian, you had a question?
Right, yeah, so that's what I'm wondering, it's who is pushing for, these things to go away? I mean, those are obviously some options that we were considering going forward to be able to say, that's an option for any development work that we're going to be doing. So what, is it the smaller cities or the larger cities that are pushing to abolish that or get rid of that?
Actually, it's not the cities at all, Ryan. It's some of the legislators, and I would guess that because most renaissance zones are in the medium to larger cities, that it's legislators from those cities because they think it's a tax giveaway to the rich. When really when you run it out on an ROI basis, it does help hold down property taxes for the entire city population.
Because of the private-public partnership, right?
And because it's so quickly increases the taxable value of the property that was rehabbed.
Yep.
Okay. But on the other hand, for cities like us that are going to be growing, it's definitely going to be a tool that I hope that doesn't go away.
No, it could be a fight, but we'll be able to hold on to it, just so we chip away at any pieces of it.
Okay, great, thank you.
And as far as questions go, the audience can feel free to ask questions as we go. So, there's a lot of property tax exemptions on statute in the code, lots of them. So there's been more discussion on, do we still need all these property tax exemptions that are on the books? I mean, they've been putting them on the books year after year after year. Some of them have to be 30, 40, 50 years old. One of the things that they are talking about is nonprofit entities. Should they continue to get a property tax? Hospitals, churches, clinics. You know, like carve out a special session or a section for one of them, like they do now for religious organizations, hard to say. But we have a lot of exemptions on the books. A lot of exemptions in statute. And they're getting looked at. Just like you may have heard, some of the counties are looking at residential farmsteads to see if they meet those exemption qualifications. Some counties are finding that when they go back and look at the income information and the amount of time you live on a particular site, they're finding some of those farmsteads really do not qualify for the rural farmstead exemption. So they're coming back on the tax rolls as a regular residence. There's a lot of this has slid for a lot of years. There's a lot of tax revenue that the state is missing and that political subs are missing. One of the things, and I do want to hand this out. Maybe I don't have 10 copies, but we'll see how far they go. You all seen this real recently. I'm sorry, I need to start over here with the elected officials. This is that consolidated tax statement that came out, the one that says this is not a bill at the top. Property taxes at some point in time, as an elected official, you're going to get asked about property taxes. Unfortunately, what we find is that property tax statements have not gotten any easier to read. The legislators keep tweaking them. They don't make them any more readable. When I go home and visit Mom, and I go out with all the other widowed elderly ladies that have coffee, because they know what I do, what do they want to know? What did I pay last year? What am I going to pay this year? The rest of the stuff on there is kind of gobbledygook. So what I try to tell elected and appointed officials is, if you have a property tax discussion with a citizen, you need to have their statement in front of you. This is not the final statement. Final one's be coming out in a couple months. Have that in front of you and make sure that you understand that this is not just the city's property tax statement. It's the school, the park board, the county, the city, everybody. You should only be answering questions that have to do with the city. So you need to understand where the money comes from and where the money goes. You need to be able to justify your line item on here. That's really important. But property tax statements are public information. Anybody can look at anybody's. Cass County's got a great website. You look them up online. You can sit down, pull it up on your phone, talk to the person about it right there. And typically you find they drop right to the bottom line. Why did my taxes go up? It's the city's fault. It typically is not. school districts, because of the funding formula that's built in the statute. They're the ones that have to increase property taxes, just because of the formula they're stuck with. So property tax statements are important. Everybody needs to know how to read one of those and how to find them on the Cass County website. Sunday opening is gonna come up. As your city continues to embrace commercial and residential growth, you need to think about Sunday openings in the context of the commercial growth and then the traffic patterns that may or may not cause on a Sunday. Churches, you don't want a lot of traffic running by churches or plugging up ingress or egress coming out of a church property. I fully expect Sunday openings to pass. I think the time has come.
Where have you heard some of the legislators, where are they standing on that topic?
You know, Brian, there hasn't been a lot of conversation other than last session, but it was a very, very close vote last session within a couple votes the other way and it would have passed. So I'm pretty sure that this session they've got it nailed down.
And it's basically the larger cities that are looking to make, trying to compete with Moorhead and East Grand Forks, I'm sure, because they're perceived that they're losing revenue to those cities, right?
Not so much that. I think we've just hit that cultural time point where persons expect to be able to do a certain amount of shopping on a Sunday afternoon. It's not the typical Sunday that some of us grew up with anymore.
Yeah.
So.
No, I've always contended it's not about the people that want to go shopping. It's about the people that have to go to work on Sunday morning. Because all of a sudden now all the businesses expect all their workers to be working Sunday morning, which isn't fair to them.
I guess it'll still be Sunday noon opening.
Oh, okay. I thought it was going to be an all-day Sunday.
Well, there's some deviation on that, but it depends on who can open, like grocery stores and Walmart and all of that.
Oh, okay.
There'll be some movement there.
Okay.
And it could very well, Brian, be that it's a Sunday morning thing also. It could be an all-day Sunday.
Yeah. That's what I was most concerned about.
I see that morphing with time.
Yeah.
It may not be right away, but I think that'll morph.
But even like Costco, they don't open until 10 o'clock on a regular business day, so it may start there and then work its way either up or down.
Right.
Some of you have heard about the Municipal Infrastructure Fund, or the Prairie Dog money that Senator Wardner put together. That is grant money. It is not loan money. And every city in North Dakota gets some amount of money. I asked Brent, and I think right now Horace would be in the pool for over $1 million.
Yep.
And that's $1 million a biennium. It's not $1 million a year. And that money is going to come from oil and gas, production and extraction. Right now, the scheme is it has this revenue generated and it goes through a series of what we call buckets. It has to go to this bucket. When that one gets full, then it flows over into these two buckets. When they get full, it goes to this bucket. Kind of a convoluted process. But these two new buckets, one for municipals and one for counties and townships, would be moved up in that revenue flow so that they would fill up before a couple of these other existing buckets fill up. And that money is grant money, and it's to be used for essential infrastructure. Roads, streets, bridges, curb gutter. There's a communications line in there. So, and it's intended to be a permanent fund. It's not intended to be a one and done. So this will be an opportunity for cities to have some pool of money that they can use for, again, those essential infrastructure projects, whether curb and gutter, street, whatever it is, to help offset some of that cost.
So, Blake, question?
Yep.
So has now that the oil prices have started to go up, do you think that's going to increase the chances of that bill passing?
Actually, I think there's a very good chance that the bill's gonna pass anyway, because every municipality, every incorporated city in North Dakota, all 357 of them, are going to get some amount of money. So why would you, as a legislator who realize how important it is to be reelected, vote against giving your constituents some grant money?
Right. Exactly.
But what we have to make sure of is that they stick with the basics of the bill as it currently exists, that they not start picking pieces of it apart, that they not make it difficult to distribute the funds or restrict how the funds can be used above and beyond what the current language says.
Right, because it's fairly, you know, it's a good use of money for infrastructure, and I'd hate for it to be restricted.
That's right, that's right. So the city of Horace put in for their $1 million. Here's what projects we're gonna use them on. You get sent a check. That's kind of short and sweet how we envision it working.
It'll be awesome.
It's not gonna be a reimbursable fund where you have to pay for it and then you get reimbursed. So this will be a front-end load instead of a back-end load.
Sure. So it's just money that we wouldn't have to send out in a bond.
That is correct. That is correct. The other fund, financial idea that you may have heard about is using the legacy fund. There's not a lot of warm fuzzy about dipping into the principal legacy fund, but we can use the revenue stream that goes into the earnings. If we capitalize 1 month's worth of those revenue streams, we can leverage that up to $200 to $250 million in biennium for, again, essential infrastructure. Those monies would be loan monies. 1.5% and a 50 basis points administration fee, admin fee, so 2% loan over the typical current life of what you might bond for now of that project. If it's a 20-year bond project, it'd be a 20-year loan. If it's a 30-year bond project, it'd be a 30-year loan. There was some talk about running it out to 40 or 50 years. And I don't know, I might have a little heartburn over that. I think 30 is plenty. And that, again, and that is intended to be a permanent fund. It would not, that capitalization and bonding concept is absolutely risk-free. There is no downside to it. North Dakota's money being used in North Dakota, not being invested in other places. We're going to invest in ourselves. One of my selling points on it is when you're looking at essential infrastructure, you're looking at projects that have a very long life cycle. So you do a water tower, you shouldn't have to come back to the State Water Commission or to the citizens for anything other than repair and maintenance. You shouldn't have to replace that water tower for 100 years. These are off the table. Once you get these infrastructure projects off the table, they're off the table. Now you can start setting aside some reserve. You'll have ample time to build up a reserve, so when you do have to repair or have to maintain, you have some funds in reserve. So one of the biggest revenue problems right now in cities is they've deferred so much maintenance. And now it's caught up to them to the point where to catch up on all deferred maintenance would be just horribly expensive, outrageously expensive. You've probably read or may have seen in the paper, Bismarck's looking at a street utility fee. They'll assess everybody in the city and use that money for street maintenance and repair. Preemptions is another thing I have on your list. The federal government has gone on this tear about saying to the state and to local municipalities, we know what's best for you more than you do, so here's what we're going to do, and you don't get to say anything about it. Classic examples going on around there now is this 5G small cell site. They want to put the these towers up, they're only good for 100 to 300 meters, so they can transmit internet signals from one to another, to another, to another, and 5G is increasing your speed. Is basically what it's for. But they don't want to pay for it. AT&T and Verizon and all the rest of them that have billions of dollars, they want to pay a very minimum amount to use your public infrastructure, like street poles, utility poles, stoplights, that the public has already paid for. Public has invested in, the public owns it. Now they want to be able to use that public infrastructure for little to nothing on the immediate term and in the long term. I'm not happy with that. But federal government may have said, too bad, so sad. There's some lawsuits going on right now. We'll see if it gets if they have an injunction or not. There'll be some legislation on initiated and referred measures. You might want to pay attention to that because that might filter down into how you deal with some issues on a city level as far as a citywide vote or a special vote, special election. Basically, the feds have told the state, here's what you have to do whether you like it or not. So the state's coming to cities and saying, well, we know what's better for you than you do, so here's what you need to do whether you like it or not. Preemption we need to watch. Internet sales tax, that should kick in around the first part of November. That means Rauschenberger is putting a list together of those businesses that have to comply. But because of when that tax revenue comes in and when it's reported and then when it's distributed, you might not see that money till the middle to the end of 2019. But at least that process will be in place for internet sales tax. Workforce, we're going to see some activity from the governor's office on funding to try to increase our workforce. All around the state, it's really what's holding us back. And I believe we'll also see some push by the governor for infill. He doesn't like sprawl. He likes infill. Smaller houses, smaller lots, where infrastructure already exists because they don't have to run it out anywhere. Horace, you have.
We have a nice long run.
Yeah, you have the potential for a lot of infrastructure work. Right. Your infill's kind of restricted already.
Mm-hmm.
So it's something that we'll be watching. I don't have anything against infill, but until people all start wanting to buy half-acre lots and 1,800 square foot houses, infill's kind of hard to sell. Yeah. Okay, with that, I really don't have anything else. I'll take any other questions.
So when you say infill, I mean, we definitely, Horace, like you said, is long, but on the other hand, we've got a lot of area to yeah, you're right. We got to create infrastructure, build infrastructure to get to all this land, but on the other hand, building close to the city center, is that, I guess what qualifies, or is that infill? Is it just within the Horace City limits proper?
Infill, as far as I understand, from the governor's perspective, is the minimal amount of running new infrastructure outside the current footprint of the existing city.
So like in the extraterritorial area, you mean? Or just within the city limits proper?
Probably into the ETA too, because depending on your city size, some of the ETAs are only half a mile.
Okay.
So that half a mile is a lot cheaper run than a couple of miles.
Right.
Brian, my guess is he wouldn't be happy with where the school decided to set up shop.
Oh no, he would not be happy.
Because that's right out in the middle of quote nowhere, end quote.
Well, absolutely, but there again, it's the land that was available, and it's going to absolutely infill around it.
Oh, right. We can justify it. I'm just saying, if on first blush, if he took a look at that, he'd be grumpy.
Well, I can't disagree.
Mm-hmm.
He was real unhappy with Davies High School.
Yeah, so there you go. That's why I say he wouldn't like that one either.
Not that he can do anything about it, but he
No.
can bring it up
Right.
frequently.
You
Yes,
guys-
sir, you got a question, I think.
Do you know what the drive or motivation is on the ETA to restrict and whatever, or extraterrestrial?
That's a very good question. I sound like I'm on public radio, whenever you ask a question, you have to say, oh, that's a really good question. No, not all of them are good questions, but that is a good question. We have elected a group of legislators who ran under the Republican umbrella, but they're really libertarians at heart. And they want as few restrictions on how you live your life as possible. And when you do an ETA, you typically have some zoning restrictions that go on it. Well, they would just assume that those zoning regulations went away, so if your neighbor wants to have chickens and 8 out of 10 of them are roosters, you're stuck with being up all night. It's a little different mentality certainly than what I'm used to, but it's kind of individual rights, whatever the individual wants, as long as it's not illegal, immoral, fattening, it's you can do whatever you want. It's your private property, your personal property. If you don't want to get hooked up to city water, and you want to have a outhouse, be my guest. Well, I have heartburn over some of that. But there's a group of them that were elected one session ago, and I suspect there might be a few more of them in there this session. They rode in under that Republican umbrella of throwing everybody out and electing somebody new. They're interesting. Is there a script recorder here? So, that's where that came from. So again, elections on November 6th. It is very important that you pay attention to not what they say, but what they did if they're returning legislator. And as a city, as soon as they get elected, you just sit down with them and say, here is our property taxes. Here's where the money comes from, here's where the money goes. Don't give them a bunch of numbers, give them a pie chart, put different colors on it. One page revenue, one page expenses. Talk to them about if you have a CIP or anything that you have on board as far as growth documents. Make sure you share that with them, and make sure that when you're explaining stuff to them, you look at them and if they get that deer in the headlight look, then you gotta go back and try to simplify it and run it by them again. They get hit with 1,000+ bills in the course of after 50, 60 days. I don't expect all of them to be on top of everything. That's our responsibility as citizens. Your responsibility as elected and appointed officials. Sit down with them and say, this is what is best for the common good. Not this is my axe to grind, but this is what's best for my community. My children who are going to go to school here, who are going to grow up here, who may come back here someday, or my grandchildren, whatever situation you're in. That's our responsibility. Don't expect them to get suddenly real smart about property taxes or ETAs or Renaissance zones just because they got elected to go down to Bismarck, because that doesn't happen. So with that, I will be done. Turn you guys back to your agenda.
Okay. Blake, I appreciate you coming out here and just
Thanks,
giving us the
Mike.
update.
Yeah,
Really
thank you.
appreciate it. So, and we'll be in touch.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Trust me, we'll be in touch.
Oh yeah.
Only a few more days and we'll be at it.
Yep. All right. Well, thank you, sir. Okay. So moving on to number 9 here. Brent, you're up with the Black Mountain Software.
Okay, Chair. Okay, Black Mountain Software is the accounting software that we've been looking at for quite some time to transition to. This was budgeted for the 2019 budget. We budgeted a healthy amount, not knowing exactly if it would cost more or not and what features we'd be looking at. However, the different areas we're looking at are accounting, budget prep, asset management, and payroll. Those are the areas that we're looking at features with Black Mountain. We currently have Black Mountain for utility billing. That was expense that we took on this year, I believe. Is that? Yep, this year. We transitioned to it this year. It's working pretty well. We wanted to build our comfort or test it out with the utility billing software component before getting too deep into the whole package to see if it was the right fit for us. It's a pretty common software used by many of the cities around the area and cities our size. Even some of our peers, like the city of West Fargo, uses Black Mountain software. We budgeted $58,000 for next year's budget. This proposal from them is just a hair under $30,000. There are annual membership or annual service fees that we have to pay. When we're full-fledged into Black Mountain, it will be right around $11,000. So we're looking at right around $40,000 next year in cost of Black Mountain if council approves this. This has been, I know Brian has been involved with quite a few of the conversations. He sat through a demo, it was last week. And Brian, do you have anything else you'd like to add about what you saw with Black Mountain?
Do you know, Brent, do you know how much we've been spending on with the Summit Group to maintain our current system, approximately per year?
I don't know off the top of my head. I know that each user, and we have 3 users, is roughly $3,000. So just for the users, that's $9,000 right there.
Yeah, so the overall system cost isn't going to go up a lot.
Not
versus
drastic.
what we're paying today.
Yeah, not drastic of my knowledge. And this is a very similar, the annual fee is very similar to what I've seen for other accounting softwares elsewhere.
Right.
So, yeah.
And the big thing is just be able to give us better reporting, better visibility into the financials on a periodic basis.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that is one of the overall goals is to present financials better, clean up our accounting and things like that. We had findings in our audit that we wanted to be able to address, and the software should help us be able to address some of those and
Right.
present information in a
One
more.
of the big things is just being able to do the better budget to actual reporting.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. The one area that we were looking at, we decided to remove from this was permitting component, and that ties into the next agenda item, a different software component. We felt Black Mountain software wasn't user friendly, and it really didn't capture, for the permitting side, it didn't capture what our goals were of user friendliness, being able to have builders be able to submit their plans, their building, apply for building permits online, some different components like that, which I'll get to a little later. But we felt that Black Mountain didn't really secure what we were looking for on that, so we removed that component. That saved about $5,000 from that component. Now we're looking at night-and-day difference permitting software, like I said, but that was the one area that we removed from what we were looking at. So if council is comfortable with this, then we'd just look for approval to move forward. As we mentioned earlier during the consent item, we would not incur expense or have the bit invoice until January of 2019. That way it would stay all within that budget year of 2019.
And this is something you guys have been looking into for a while and planning
Yeah.
for and all that.
The city has been looking into Black Mountain for, I would say, approximately a year, maybe
about a year.
longer, because I know they were well into looking into it before I got here 6 months ago. So.
One of the things we were looking to do, Chelsea, was just make sure that the utility billing transition was okay and that the service support was good before we even consider looking at the accounting. So far we've had good interaction with them, and they were very helpful in the transition. So that's why we thought, okay, this is a good time to make the move.
Yep.
Anything else, you guys? Brian, anything else you want to add?
No, nothing I can think of.
Okay, so I'm going to entertain a motion to purchase that Black Mountain software like we discussed.
Well, I guess my question, didn't we already approve this?
I don't know.
I thought we already approved
You-
this in our budget.
In the budget, you approved us going forward with this. However, we approved the dollar amounts into a budget line item, but we didn't call out specific expense tied to it. So, and figure this would be the best, just so you could see what the actual costs are now. You saw budgetary numbers. Now you're seeing more defined
Okay, all right.
numbers.
So I'll make a motion to approve the purchase order to get Black Mountain.
Okay, Brian makes a motion.
Second.
Chelsea does a second. I'm going to roll call, even though it's a short roll call. Brian?
Yes.
Chelsea?
Yes.
All right, motion carries.
Okay.
Okay, next one.
Okay, the next one you see, this is similar dynamic to Black Mountain. We've been looking into software to improve our building permit inspection process, code enforcement, so enforcing code enforcement or violations, ordinances, really the whole gamut from the community development side. This software is from a company called Dude Solutions. They have a software called SmartGov. And SmartGov is a very friendly online or cloud-based interface to where developers would be able to submit their plats or plans when they're doing a new plat, so they could submit everything online. They could have the review process more interactive online, check their materials, quicker, easier review. When you're submitting a building permit, same component. The builders would be able to have a profile within the city's server or through the server deal. Code enforcement, there'd be a GIS base to where we could click on each parcel and pull up a history of any code violations or anything like that. Same thing with inspections. It would be a GIS base, so we could click on, the building inspector could be out in the field, click on that parcel, pull up all the work orders or inspection forms so they could have everything available on site. Builders then would be able to see the progress of any inspections occurring, creates more transparency that way, helps us just collect our data. Currently, building inspections, building permits, plan review, is pretty much done all pen and paper. There's very little computer interaction, not much backup electronically, so this is really trying to get us up to the current age, having a lot friendlier process. We had budgeted $55,000 for this. One area we'd be looking at to generate this revenue is we'd be looking at our costs of our building permits. That was something the council agreed to we would look into towards the beginning of fiscal year 2019. Also, we anticipate to have quite a few more building permits than previous years. Right now, we have 47 building permits, which is pretty good increase or healthy increase from previous years. If you compare it to just a couple years ago, we were at 20. Talking with Perry earlier today, he would not be surprised if we got 260 by the end of the year. We're around that 55 to 60 range. We don't control that, but just from what we've heard from the builders and how they've been trending. Now, if winter hits us tomorrow type deal, then we probably won't get those. But we do anticipate our building permits to drastically increase next year based on Terra Gardens. Could be in a position where building could occur possibly next summer. There's quite a few lots already spoken for in Terra Gardens. Lost River is coming forth with roughly 175 lots in their 5th edition. That will over double the size of Lost River, and quite a few of the R6 type lots within Lost River are spoken for by builders already also. So that, and then with the other curveball or component of the schools coming in, we believe we'd have the revenue for that. So those are just components there. We have checked with other communities. One community we talked to as a reference from SmartGov is from Star, Idaho. It's about half hour, 20 minutes, half hour outside of Boise, Idaho. And speaking with them, they went through a lot of what Horace is starting to go through about 10 to 15 years ago. Very high growth, just outside of or on the edge of a metro area. They went through quite a bit of growth, and they said that this has helped them tremendously in handling that growth. And they got this, I believe it was about 4 or 5 years ago. And with this, it really helped them implement their processes, and they use it diligently. So,
What does West Fargo use, or did you talk to them at all?
we talked with West Fargo. They both have been looking into inspection software, not a bigger gamut. They are using a software called iWorks. Is West Fargo is what they're using. iWorks, their component, like I said, was really geared at building inspections, where this was a broader component, what we're looking at. And the same thing, Fargo, they were looking at a different, I believe they went with a different software than iWorks, but it was focused just on inspections. So that's why we were looking for something that's a little more diverse and GIS based also.
Brent, I have a question for you. So
Yep.
the connectors, what are the connectors? They got the map and the parcel connectors. Are they hooking to our current GIS database, or what are
Yeah.
they connecting to?
Yes, they would connect into the county's parcel layers and anything we have for current GIS, and also it would connect, I believe, areas where applicable could connect into Black Mountain.
It could connect it. Oh, you mean for processing the permit fees and so forth?
Yes, that's my understanding. Is basically connecting into the existing data that we have through like the county's GIS layers. If we have any GIS layers that would be applicable, and then accounting software. Yep.
But this is that demonstration software, Brian, you and I went through with them that one time
Yeah.
too, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the quote, and it's just a titch higher than I thought it was going to be.
Yep. It was higher than we anticipated at first, and this is also their development cost.
Well,
So.
I'm gonna. Do we really need 3 days of on-site training too?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a pretty big expense. I mean, that we could say, all right, is there another way they could do the training rather than 3 days on site? It seems a bit excessive.
Yep.
Yeah, because
And would we need those connectors, the map and parcel connectors, or do you feel that's a requirement, or do you think that's a nice to have?
I think to get the most out of the software, it would definitely be wise to have. If we were to cut anything, it would be the training package. We could do more like web-based training, and I could ask them about cost tied to that. But this was going off their recommendations based on the best success rate they've had with people actually getting the most out of the data or out of the software, and that's why they recommended that training.
Yeah, because I don't see anything for migration services, so they're not pulling any of our current data into it, right?
No.
We're starting from a new database.
Yes, because everything is paper and pencil right now.
Well, I know, and that's
So.
why, I'm like, okay, I could see this being, the 3-day training if there were, if there was a lot of data that we needed to be able to continue moving forward, but I don't know, just.
Yep.
And roughly, it's going to be about this again. It's going to be about $10,000 a year for subscription.
Yes, that would be correct.
so that's what they told us at that last meeting too, right, Brian? I remember that.
It could be. I just didn't see the numbers, or I didn't look at them.
But I think that was something, that they had mentioned it.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't know about the 3 days on site either. That seems a bit.
I mean, if we could cut back, doing 1 to 2 days and then web-based so, you know, if we could cut that back by, you know, $7,000 or something like that, that'd be
Yeah.
best case, because it's a pretty big chunk to, so that's what I mean, subscription. So, oh, I see, okay, so it does pay for the 14-month subscription and the implementation fees.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, we'd be covered the first year, subscription base with us, and actually they would carry us for a couple months in order to cover that development.
And the good news is we did budget money in the 2019 for this, right?
Yes, we budgeted 55,000, so we budgeted plenty for this, just in case the costs were higher than we anticipated, or
Yeah, I guess my thing is just maybe out of this we're going to want to do a little deeper, you know, return on investment, so to speak. To say, is this going to make us more efficient, or is it going to make us, you know, better at code enforcement? You know, is it reduce liability kind of thing?
I believe it would do all
Yeah.
the above. That's goal. Those are some of the goals in mind.
Using the parameters that they showed us in that,
Yeah.
when we did the demo, that's kind of what we were after, you know, to try and come up with the ROI here that would be cut down the time and have everything online. You know?
Yeah. Okay.
And maybe do the web training and see how it goes, if we need on-site training later.
We could
But
do that
There's
as
a lot
an
of
amendment.
great web training, I don't know,
Yeah.
it seems like we could figure it out.
What I could do is tell them to cut the 3-day training out, do a web-based, and then if we feel we need that later on, it'd be more of amend the agreement or come back to council saying we could use more training, more in depth.
Okay, so
Which would probably be more beneficial anyways, because then you got that good foundation going before you.
what do you guys want to do with the SmartGov software? Brian, what do you want to do?
I mean, this is something that we're going to need to have in place for. I mean,
Yeah. Our goal is to have something implemented before really the permits start flowing in for the spring. That's our
okay,
goal.
so the implementation timeline is this winter, and with a go live sometime early spring.
Yeah, that's our goal.
Okay. So this is just authorizing the purchase order. That we're not going to spend the money right now. It's as we get scheduled and things proceed, then we'll be spending the money.
It'd be similar to what you just did with Black Mountain. So we would have them start developing, start getting us on the list, start moving forward. We wouldn't incur or be invoiced anything until we get into fiscal year 2019.
Right. And the other, so I guess do we need to approve this tonight to get on the list for the implementation, or do you want to try and negotiate the price to lower it a little bit? The training. What would you prefer?
The longer we wait, the farther down the list we will get.
Okay.
I know they have quite a few clients that are kind of the same boat we're in, just waiting for approvals from their board. So if we get something in soon, what you could do is say, negotiate down the training and maybe say get it under a certain amount if you think it's appropriate.
Maybe what we do, because we budgeted that amount, let's I can make a motion to approve the quote for the SmartGov with a not to exceed the $42,900.
Yeah, and then
try and negotiate.
I would negotiate down the training.
Amount.
Okay,
Yeah.
Brian makes a motion. Get a second.
Second?
Okay, and I'll roll call it. Brian,
Yes.
Chelsea.
Yes.
All right, that passes. Okay, so let's see if we can get that negotiated.
Yep.
We'll see what happens there. Okay.
I will start talking with them and negotiating that tomorrow.
Yeah, perfect.
Get that resolved.
Okay, next one we got on the list, number 11.
The next one, another agreement. This one is as you recall, at the last council meeting, it brought forth that we were awarded a grant from the North Dakota Department of Commerce for $24,500 for partnerships and marketing grant. This economic development based grant really to help cities or communities kick off their efforts to improve economic development. As we all know, economic development is a high priority to the council. That is spoken and to the community. That's evident through the sales tax, where 25% of the city sales tax could go for economic development purposes. We have $75,000 budgeted for fiscal year 2019 for economic development. We originally tried to pursue the grant to have the community development director search be the match. However, we're encouraged to use cash match. The likeliness of the grant being approved otherwise was less. Since we had the cash available for 2019, we said, okay, we could do that. So the grant was approved. This is AE2S's proposal to work with us on various marketing components and implement what we requested the funding for with the grant. So helping the city brand, helping the city promote or create marketing for economic development, and achieve some goals like help try to bring businesses in. I noticed Eric Dodds is here from AE2S. He could touch base on it if you had any questions too. The total cash or match from the city would be $10,500. The contract being proposed from AE2S is not to exceed $35,000. So $10,500 from the city, $24,500 from North Dakota Department of Commerce. I would have this go through legal review. It has not been done yet, but they will go through it just to skim through. There was one component that I would have on one of the last pages under performance schedule, just remove that. That was not applicable to this grant because they didn't, it was from a different document they had on there. So I would suggest we'd have legal review of it. If they had no issues with it or no significant ones, then we can move forward with that. If council is comfortable with that, then we could proceed. This would work in a similar fashion to the previous two. We would not incur expense until 2019. And so that's in order to synchronize with the 2019 budget schedule.
Okay. So, Eric, you got anything to add to that, or anything you want to add?
I guess nothing in particular, but I think Brent noted that the city was successful in getting the grant dollars from the Department of Commerce, and so I think that's a really great testament to things that are happening here and your guys' commitment to budgeting for economic development. And so this is, I think, aiming to take it, to capitalize on those grant dollars and try to improve the branding of Horace and attract some businesses, which has been a goal of yours.
Yep. No, I agree. I don't see anything.
This kind of like we've been talking about is getting some marketing, economic development efforts started, right?
Yep.
So this is a first step in that.
Right. And we've been talking about this, and we got the grant for it. I see no reason to say no to this one. This is pretty much a no-brainer.
And involvement wise, Councilmember Schmidt or Ryan and Korseman were involved initially when we were initially developing the grant application, and then Councilmember Johnson and I met with AE2S here just the other week to talk about the grant and this proposal coming forward.
So I'm going to look for a motion to approve this.
I'll make a
So
motion.
moved.
Oh, Chelsea beat you, Brian. You want to do a second?
I'll second.
All right. I'll roll call this being we're spending money. Brian?
Yep.
Chelsea?
Yes.
All right. Here.
Thanks.
It's
Sorry.
motion passed. Okay. Yep. Good. Get on with it. Thank you, Eric.
Very cool.
Okay.
All right. Waste management revised contract extension. I'm assuming Brent, you
Okay.
got that one?
Yep. Okay, this is a revised contract extension from what you saw at the last council meeting. Paul from Paul from Waste Management and I were discussing a few items that Lucas, our attorney, brought up a couple concerns on, and one was the dollar amounts. We couldn't backtrack the dollar amounts to match their rate increases that they proposed. And upon Paul digging deeper into it, he found that the rate increase for services was not applied in 2017. Therefore, the 3% rate increase was not applied. Therefore, 17 and 2018 numbers were off. So what they're trying to do is just clean everything up starting 2020. When a new rate increase would happen, that'd be cleaned up. So really, actually, this contract would be cleaned up, and then the rate increase would be reflected correctly starting in 2020. This error from Waste Management resulted in an $8,900 error in favor of the city and residents, to where they weren't charged that much over a period of time. So they had said that they would not come back asking for recouping that cost, even though agreement says that we would go with those rate increases as well. So they're trying to work with us on that part, and then, like I said, their goal is just to have everything cleaned up for the future. I know Brian, he talked with Paul here last week also. Did you have anything you'd want to expand on that, Brian?
No, I think the only question I had, I think from my conversation with him was the roll-off amounts and the bulk updates. Those really didn't change, I believe, correct?
I do not believe they changed. It was just
so it was just the curbside garbage and cart fees that went up essentially 3%, right?
Yes, that is correct.
So
he just corrected the billing schedule so that way the rates were applied correctly.
So there is one change on here. In the past, the additional recycling cart did not have a fee.
Mm-hmm.
So he's got on here now that it's an additional $2.50 per cart for the recycling bin. So that's he didn't mention that one, but we get it. I'm assuming it did cost. They just weren't passing that on.
He said that there were only 5 of those in the city throughout the entire. There are only 5 households that had additional carts for recycling.
Okay.
Flat out.
So it doesn't affect that many, but it's just going from 0 to something.
Yep. And he just wanted to make sure it was cleaned up for any new ones, or anybody else that would want a new cart that would be cleaned up and applied for. So
the garbage service essentially went up looks like about 50 cents.
Yep.
Because I think it was $15.49 before, and now it's $15.99.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah, and I think the additional garbage cart is about 30 cents more, something like that.
Yep.
So, okay, it isn't a huge increase, but it is an increase.
Yep.
And there again, something to point out for residents that are listening, the rates that they are charged, part of the cost driving factor here is the rates that they are charged for the landfill have gone up from the city of Fargo, because that's where our garbage services go. That's where they've essentially eaten that cost of the additional landfill drop and didn't pass that along. So we got lucky.
Yep.
So that's part of the driving factor into why the rates have gone up, because it isn't an increase from the landfill.
Yep. Now, just a reminder is we would be revisiting the rate. This is the rate that it would cost the city or the residents would have to pay, but the city may have a different rate than what this is. So we were talking about, do we charge a few dollars more or something to cover our costs for compost site, dumpsters, spring cleanup, all those different components, so we have the money to stay in the black to be able to provide those additional services that are not covered within this. So just a reminder of that, so when you see this number, that number is going to be visited when we talk rates in the future here. So we make sure that we stay in the black.
Yeah, so were you planning on reviewing the rate resolution, or not at this time, just do that in the future?
It would be in the near future as we review any other rates that we have too.
Okay, so we will need the resolution
Yes.
to increase the rates, especially if this goes into effect November 1st. We're going to have to update our resolution for the increased garbage rates.
Yeah.
So at a minimum, we have to increase it for this reason, right? Or can we hold off on that for a bit until we do a deeper analysis on the overall costs?
I would look at it and then I could get back with you.
Okay.
But if
right.
if it does need to be on the first meeting in November, it would be.
Right. That's essentially why I'm asking, because this thing is November 1st is when this takes effect, and I don't think we're going to be ready to say how we're going to handle the rates that we pass on to residents, right?
Yeah.
So I think you need a motion to approve this contract, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, so Brian makes a motion to accept the contract. Get a second.
Second.
Okay, Chelsea does a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries, so we'll
Okay.
accept that. All right. So, Sarah, welcome to Horace. It's been a while.
Thanks.
Lucas is skipping town, so we got you on for 13.
Yes, the final plat for Isaac Edition, we need to hold a public hearing. You guys have previously approved the preliminary plat. The Planning Commission has reviewed this and did not have any changes. The primary purpose of this, I believe, was to vacate a 120-foot road easement. Otherwise, it's not really much of a lot split.
Okay. So with that, then I'll open up for a public hearing on the final plat. Anybody got anything they want to talk about on that one?
Pretty cut and dry.
Pretty much, yeah. Russ, anything? Pretty much just a no-brainer, right? Just thought I'd ask.
It's basically the last, there was a 120-foot road easement there that
Yep.
we're vacating. It was gonna be the road to nowhere.
Don't need that.
No.
No. Okay, anybody else got anything else they want to add on that? Otherwise, I'll close the public hearing and,
I'll make a motion to approve the final plat for the Isaac Edition.
okay, Chelsea makes a motion. Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, Brian is a second. All in favor say aye.
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 Okay, motion carries. Next one is the rezone.
Yes, this is second reading on the rezone ordinance. First reading was held at the September 17th meeting. I don't believe there have been any changes since first reading.
Nothing. Okay.
No, straightforward.
All right, so I'm looking for a motion to accept the rezone.
I had a hard time hearing what Sarah was saying. What was the upshot of that?
That nothing's changed between the first and second reading on this rezone.
Okay. So moved.
Okay, so Brian
Second.
and Chelsea does a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, rezone carries. All right, and we are on to the Lost River deal.
This is the public hearing on the assessment list that has been approved by the Special Assessment Commission. The city is required to hold a public hearing, receive any public comment on the list, has the opportunity to make any revisions if you feel the need, and then we would be looking for confirmation and approval of the final assessment list.
Okay, so I'll open up a public meeting then for the assessment list hearing. Are there any comments on that for Lost River? When did the committee meet, or how long ago has that been again? Roughly.
August 15th.
Okay,
Oh, that was the first meeting. They confirmed it at the September 13th meeting.
got it, okay. Okay. All right, anybody got anything you want to add on that, or otherwise I'll close the confirmation hearing. And then I suppose we want a motion to accept the assessments as they are.
Yes.
Okay.
So moved.
Okay, Chelsea makes a motion. Can I get a second?
Second.
Brian is a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. Approved. And we have another one here for the SSL project.
Yes, same situation. The Assessment Commission has approved the list at its September 13th meeting. This is the time and place set for a public hearing on these assessments, and then following that, we would be looking for confirmation of the list.
Okay. So this is, I'll open up the assessment list confirmation hearing for public discussion. Anybody have anything they want to say about that? This is for the SSL project that we have going on. Or is done now, right, Jim?
As of today.
There we go. Okay. Anybody got anything they want to add or say on that one? Otherwise, I'll close the public hearing and we'll, I'll accept a motion to accept the assessment list.
So moved.
Okay, Brian makes a motion. Can I get a second?
Second.
Chelsea does a second. All in favor say aye.
Hi.
Aye.
All right, moving along. R5 rezoning amendment ordinance.
This is the time and place set for the required public hearing on the proposed ordinance revisions. Lucas's note to me was he would like you to hold the public hearing and then table the discussion and first reading of the ordinance to the next meeting.
Okay. Do that then. So I'll open up for a public hearing then on the rezone amendment ordinance for R5. Russ, you want to just do a quick little rehash on that? Doesn't have to be long. Let's give everybody up to speed.
Okay.
You got a thick wad of paper there, man. Come on.
This is not simply just a redoing just of R5, the multifamily.
Right.
That was the major thing. We have done some things in every residential zone. One of the things every residential zone had kind of separate parking requirements, and we have a whole parking section. So now every residential zone references the parking part of our ordinance. We've also added a requirement in every residential zone to have 25% green space. And therefore, we had to define green space. So that's in the definitions. Green space being an area of grass, trees, or other vegetation that does not have any buildings or built structures. This was to kind of, otherwise you could build a property, you could build a house and have the lot coverage of your house and your garage and fill the rest up with concrete. There was nothing to stop that in our ordinance. We've now stopped that, and it's in every residential zone. Part of it is to slow the water flowing to storm sewers. The other is just purely aesthetics.
Aesthetics, yep.
Okay, let's say in the past, someone had wanted to build, we have none of these planned, by the way. Somebody wanted to build a 36-plex. Was impossible under our zoning ordinance. We also found that our zoning ordinance for townhouses and some other smaller setups, we had we were requiring really large lot sizes. So if you have a set of townhouses, let's say that's got 4 townhouses in a row, those middle townhouses, we're going to have to fill those larger lots that we had. We've cut the lot size down from 30 feet to 26 feet. That's for the interior lots. The exterior lots, in other words, the ones on the ends, have a wider requirement in order to get the spacing between groups of townhouses. we worked on this for almost a year,
I know
so
it's been a long time.
I'm having a hard time. I had to review it myself because we passed this about 2 months ago.
Yep.
Uh,
No, just the highlights and you're hitting
Okay,
them, so.
yeah, there is one other highlight here that we've added a couple, we've got into the building codes here a little bit. An apartment or townhouse with 3 or more contiguous units must have fireproof siding on any patio or balcony structure. We're trying to keep people from lighting their place on fire with their, when they're using the plastic coffee can for an ashtray. Okay. And if they build if they have an apartment house and they build the garages along the street, those garages have to meet planning and zoning for a design review. In other words, again, aesthetics.
Yeah, there's an example of that, I think, in Eagle Run. You know, they have that detour right now, and they route you around right by this long row of garages that are very plain, and it's pretty obtuse.
If you look up near that new tall building they're doing on Veterans Drive in West Fargo, it's on the Fargo side, there is a garage right along Veterans. And you probably haven't recognized it. If you just look, you'll notice a garage. But they have, it's not just a plain garage. There's, it was done nicely so as not to be an eyesore.
Right.
And that's what we're going
So it
for
doesn't
here.
stick out. That's
Doesn't
the thing,
stick
you drive
out.
right by it.
That's kind of it in a nutshell.
Yep, no, that's good. I know you guys spent a lot of time on that. Well, I know it's been probably a year since we started talking about this, but yeah.
Well, the way it worked is I redid the ordinance and I brought it in, and then people took out their dart guns and started throwing darts at it.
That's what needs to happen, right? That's how you get it down what you want.
That's how one person can't come up with this.
Nope,
So it was
this is too much, and I
it was
know
a
that.
whole team effort.
No, that's good. No, thank you guys for doing that, because this needed to be done, definitely.
We have some other ordinance, some other revisions we need to do in some other areas, but we'll start on those now.
This was the big one, I know.
Yes.
So, anybody have any questions on that for Russ? Otherwise, I'm gonna close the public. No, go ahead, Brian, if you got one.
No question.
Okay, I'm gonna close the public hearing then on that, and then we will table the discussion until the next meeting.
Yep, you can bring it up for first reading whenever you feel you're ready.
Yep, okay. We'll do that next time then. I'd like to have everybody here when we do that, just so they know what we're doing with this. Even though they've read it, but nice to have a discussion about it too, so. Okay, so we'll move on to 17, temporary easement.
This is a temporary easement for an access road to the sanitary sewer lift station number 8 during the proposed construction for the new school. Jim can probably speak more to this. I know they have gone back and forth with an agreement for the easement, and the main thing, I guess, to note for the temporary easement that at some point, if the school determines that the access road is getting in the way of construction, then the city will be required to move it and find a new access.
Okay.
So some background on that is when we were designing the connection to Fargo at Deer Creek, the lift station location kind of varied between the intersections of 88th, Wall Avenue, and County Road 17, or in the end, it was determined to move it further north to accommodate the school, get a gravity sewer close to where the school was going to be. It services that area much better. So at that time, Lakeview Drive was kind of a future proposed area. The school was a future proposed area, nothing set in stone. So with this easement, it allows us to gravel the old railroad bed from 76th Avenue south to the lift station, allowing access in inclement weather. So if Lakeview Drive had been built sooner than what it is, we can get access off of that, and that is what is ultimately going to happen. Is access will come off of Lakeview Drive, but it's just not there. With the last 2 weeks of rain, it emphasized the need to have an access point there temporarily until a permanent solution in Lakeview Drive is constructed, or the school site too. So, yeah, we worked with the school on this one. Went through Lucas, went through their attorney, went through their board. Their board approved it, and like Sarah said, once their location of their buildings is still being determined, but there's a potential that this would be in conflict of one of those buildings, potentially the middle school. If that were the case, then this would be done and we'd have to come off of Lakeview. Now, after last Tuesday, we're planning on building Lakeview in the next year or so. So this is a temporary access through until when we can't use it anymore. So there's no money associated with it, is there?
Russ?
All in the old railroad bed,
Yeah. Well, it's abandoned.
going north,
South.
going south. We don't have that line though, correct?
School does. We're getting just an easement, temporary easement.
The school owns the railroad bed,
Yeah, they really do.
they bought it,
How they got it, but they got it.
wonderful.
I don't know how either. I didn't ask. I didn't ask.
It would have been nicer if they got 100 feet south more, but
But that also takes care of their south road issue.
nope.
connecting Back to Lakeview.
No.
No?
nope.
No.
They didn't quite get all of it.
All of it.
Oh,
Yeah.
There's a little piece that they didn't get.
Yeah.
Again, don't know the whole story
Nope.
there, but they got some of it.
okay.
Don't ask why.
When would they start? I mean, if they were going to do that, the temporary easement, when would they try and put that road down? Are they gonna try
I
and
would
put
say
that-
this week, as soon as
This
we
week?
can. Yep.
As soon as possible.
As soon as possible. As soon as the change order gets approved to do it.
This week, they're gonna get the road in this week?
It's just graveling, Brian. We're going to use the old railroad bed that's got a lot of ballast and stuff on it. It's already been elevated. It's just a matter of creating a surface that's all weather. Right now, there's a little bit of topsoil and stuff mixed in because it has tried to be farmed, but it's not real good farmland. So,
I thought there was more to it, that they would have to dig down and put some more class 5 and so forth on it.
no.
Not on the bed there. No, not on the
No.
railroad bed.
Oh, okay.
It's if they came in like we were from the west there on the
Yeah,
you know,
that's
that
the Lakeview.
That would be a lot more. But this is coming down the old railroad bed from the north to the lift station.
Oh, okay, all right.
So
It has been signed by the school, too,
yeah.
just for your knowledge.
So who's paying for it now?
There's no, for the easement, there's no cost.
No. But okay, they're handling the graveling part of it.
No, we're getting to that next. That's the B of the phrase.
That's the change order.
Is this from 88?
No.
We had to sprinkle a change order in.
Got it,
So-
of course.
Yes.
John's not here, so
Yeah.
it makes it easier. Right? I mean, I guess I don't see a problem with the temporary easement. There's not really an option here either, because otherwise we have to build a road for them from the west. I don't really want to do that. I think it's a little pricey early, so I'm okay with it. Somebody,
Well, and we don't have to, this is for the school, so we don't have to pay anything at this point, right? Or we have to pay for the construction of that?
Nothing for the easement, yes for the graveling.
we got to pay for the gravel, dude. We just don't have to pay for the easement.
We'll get to
Okay,
that.
all right.
So-
Okay, so there is a cost, just not yet.
Yeah, so let's do 17A here. So the temporary easement, I say we can grant that. Unless somebody wants to make a motion for
Yeah,
that.
I'll make a motion to grant that temporary easement.
Okay, Brian makes a motion. We check it. Second.
Second.
Okay, Chelsea does a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that's a temporary easement. Now we go to 17B.
17B.
Okay.
So, with that being said, the contractor who is in charge of, or who's constructing the connection to Fargo has provided us a price to gravel the easement area to get to the lift station throughout the fall, winter, and spring. They provide us a price of $29 per cubic yard of class 5. Plan is to spread it a couple inches thick, get it across drivable surface. Works out to roughly $5,800. I think it's a pretty reasonable price. It's a small quantity, but it's kind of
That's
Smallest
all.
one.
Yeah. I don't know, how many feet is that?
We got about 1,535, 1,550 feet.
Okay.
And we're
But
twen-
because it's so packed down and it doesn't require much gravel,
correct.
well, that's good news.
Yeah.
So,
Heck of a deal.
Okay. So with that then, I'll accept a motion to approve the graveling of that easement for $5,800, well.
it'll be,
not
that's
to
an
exceed-
estimated cost. It depends on whatever the $20 per cubic yard. So we'll measure it, and whatever it is what it is. But that's what it's estimated to be.
Okay, do you want us,
Well, one question, Jim, before we go on, we aren't gonna need approval for a weight restriction or anything on that thing, right?
No, this is just to get a pickup out there if need be. In absolute worst case scenario,
Well,
getting
I'm just worried about them bringing in such heavy trucks.
No.
And what happens if there is more gravel? Are we just gonna incur the cost of throwing more gravel down in the
This is
future? If
this
they,
isn't
you know,
for the
get in
temporary
trouble?
construction of the school. This isn't anything to do with the school. This is just allowing the city access out there in the fall, winter, and spring.
Okay, alright. Okay, alright. So I'll make a motion to approve expenditure up to $5,800, right?
you wanna do that,
Well,
Jimmy, or
just approve change order number 4 in the amount of $5,800,
Okay.
and then it'll be whatever the constructed quantities are. It might be less.
okay, Brian, did you hear that? Just accept the change order number 4, up to 5,800.
Yep, so moved.
Okay, can I get a second? Chelsea does a second. Roll call it, Brian,
Yes.
Chelsea,
Yes.
alright, there we go. Okay,
Okay, next thing on the list is a transportation alternative, safe routes to schools grant. This has typically been applied for by the city. Ex-councilman May was usually spearheading this project. At the time, the desire of the city was to continue up County Road 17 with the shared use path starting at the school and just keep working their way north. The city has received a grant from North Dakota Park and Rec to go from roughly the school where it cuts just on the northeast corner of the school where there's an existing path north to, I believe it's 81st Street, which is also Brink Drive. That grant, that money is in the, Horace has received the money for that. It hasn't been obligated yet by the highway department. It's administered through the Park and Rec, but the FHWA has to program it. And I have reached out to the Park and Rec, and I haven't heard back from them yet as to when that money will be available for the city. So this is administered through the DOT. This is a different grant. MetroCog also gets to sign off on these. So if the city does wish to continue with or put in an application for a TAP grant, it has to be in by the first week of December to MetroCog for their review and ranking. And then they submit a list of projects in the metro that fit this category. So number one, if it's something you're worth pursuing, we have handled a lot of the application, putting together the application of it. Ms. May was getting all of the community support. It does work in your favor to have support of local entities and businesses and the park board in that. So she spearheaded a lot of that, and then I just helped her put together the application part of it. So if it's something you wish to go forward, you could, I don't know if one of you wants to visit with me about it and go over it. I don't know, Chelsea, if you want to take this one on. And
Yeah, we can talk about it.
okay, so I don't think you need any action on it tonight. I heard about it last week at MetroCog, so I wanted to get it out before you guys. And I think that's something we should sit down and talk about, Chelsea, just what's been done in the past. And we've got time, considering we've got till the first week in December to get it, so.
because I think it's probably more imperative now that we continue with this, so we get some connectivity to the school.
Yeah.
Because now that's real. We were just wondering what was gonna happen prior, but now it's real. We're building there, we may as well try and see if we can keep it going, so we can get a bike path or a walking path to the school.
I can add, typically, because I've been on review committees, Stone Kansas tied to the same funding. Typically, when you're showing this as phase 2 or next phase of a project already funded, your odds are greater to get selected.
Plus we have
because
an
you
end
show
game now.
that chain reaction.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've got much more of an end game where the
Yes.
path can go.
So they do see that, they'll be able to see that vision of where you're going now, where the council is going. It's already been bought into. They liked the phase 2. it's just the funding wasn't available to do
Yep.
everything.
Yep.
So that does put us in a good position to be competitive on it.
So we'll just sit down with Chelsea and go
Okay.
through what we've submitted in the past, what the two grants that there's the North Dakota recreational trails. That's the one you've got. That's through Parks and Rec, and this is through the DOT, Transportation Alternatives. So typically in the past we put in kind of the same project for both and hope to get it out of one. So they were all right with that. So
Okay. Well, that sounds good. Let's just keep on that so we can keep that moving forward. Okay, Brent, we're back to you then.
Okay.
Capital improvement.
This one is really kind of a chain reaction or team effort with Brian and Jim. Starting the discussion of the CIP, but really seeing what different projects are on your minds. We're going to have more discussions, perhaps like a workshop type environment, but I know Councilmember Schmidt brought this up previous council meeting, wanting to have this on the agenda to where we had a little bit of time to actually have an initial discussion. In talking with the council over the time I've been here so far, just the top priorities have been revolving around water quality, improving water qualities, water treatment. So that's a big one on our radar. We have quite a few of the road projects around the schools, or around the high school and middle school. So you have 76, the intersection of 17 and 76 roundabout, and then Lakeview Drive. And then we also have Wall Avenue. That's one to keep in mind about. And then the other project that we have, or other two, are Chestnut. Chestnut is a high priority area. We're looking to having conversations this fall or winter with that neighborhood. And then the 8th Street truck route, we've put it on the back burner a little bit, try and talk with the businesses there, see what involvement they would have. But those are kind of the main project areas, and that's a pretty robust CIP list right off the bat. Especially when you look at the timeline within the next year or two, for majority of these or things that need to be discussed. So really just kind of getting the council's thoughts towards the CIP, and Brian, if you wanted to expand on it.
Yeah, there's a couple items I didn't hear you bring up, basically around stormwater. Right?
Yep.
We've got a couple areas that we need to at least make some action on stormwater and runoff improvements, correct? I know Chestnut is another one of those areas, and I'm trying to remember the other one. It was like 4th Street or something like that.
We have, if you're talking stormwater, the main areas concerned have been 3rd Street, just south of Park, Chestnut, and then the other one was the Alman Addition. And
Right.
Alman Addition, there is an opportunity where some of that drainage could be addressed with the 76th Street project.
Correct.
So-
We dovetail in there, but
Yeah.
that is another topic. But to
Yeah.
me, right now, the water quality is something that I keep hearing lots of resident feedback on water quality and what are we doing to improve that quality. So to me, that's and we've started discussion around getting proposals in place to make that happen. Yeah, that's going to be one that bubbles up to the top as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have big concerns with Wall Avenue and all the trucks and little kids riding their bikes to the elementary school, and there's no sidewalk, and I think that's very problematic. That street is getting so busy. And then, if we're gonna do this roundabout, are we routing the detour onto Wall? Or how is this traffic gonna be routed around?
The
Because-
majority of traffic would likely go up south of town. If they're going up to like Fargo, for example, they go out 29.
Yeah, but there'll be a lot of people coming from West Fargo
Yep.
or going to West Fargo.
At that time, if the roundabout construction happened next year, Fargo had 52nd Street occurring, and then also Cheyenne from 32nd to 40th will be under construction too, so that's going to significantly cut down on the traffic going on 17 into Horace. A lot of
So might
folks,
as well just shut it all down from,
Yeah.
76 Avenue all the way up to 32nd.
It's almost like that.
pretty much where majority of residents would go out to 29 at that time due to those other two projects going on.
A lot of the,
Because that kind of cuts Horace off going up north on 17. It almost entirely cuts off Horace going up north through West Fargo.
but we will get a lot of, construction trucks and equipment, moving around town and with the development
Yep.
and the road work and all that, so.
So you're advocating that Wall Avenue should be a high priority item to figure out what we're going to do.
Yeah, I'm just really concerned, with all the traffic and the kids going to the elementary school. I
I
think
agree.
it's pretty dangerous with that. I mean, even just two cars, you pass a big truck where the ditch is so deep, it's,
Oh, I'm right there with you. Oh, I get it.
Yep.
So that's a deeper conversation with the neighborhood and the township, right?
Yes.
yeah, there's a
no.
lot to be talked about.
Certainly a neighborhood.
Yep. Currently, Wall Avenue, as you may recall, a good portion of Wall Avenue from the bridge going west is not within the city limits. So we're planning having discussions with those neighborhoods to talk about joining into the city. They're pretty much wrapped around by the city already. So we're currently getting prepared to be able to have those conversations. We've talked with some individuals, but not the whole neighborhood as a whole. So we're looking at trying to get something joint together to address their concerns and see if we can work together.
Yeah, I mean, I think it really needs a sidewalk, and, I mean, even when people put their garbages out, and you almost have to stop and wait for the truck, because there's garbages,
Right,
there's just
yep.
not enough room.
I know, we had to do that too. Russ, go ahead.
When Jason was talking about the roundabout, he mentioned that during the construction of 52nd Avenue roundabout, they had put a temporary gravel road around it.
That's what I was wondering.
It'll be we trying to figure out where.
Yeah.
This gets back into that.
The substation becomes an issue.
Correct.
It depends on whether, but since that portion of it won't have the protected right turns going in, it may be good to get back with Jason and see what their plans are for that, because that takes care of a lot, because if we can still get up to the 52nd and still get to the 40th.
Right, then we can get there, it's just,
Yeah.
Yes.
he didn't sound optimistic about that when he was here last time. We're beginning to get temporary road access because of that substation.
I've seen a lot of surveyors out since then, so maybe he has a little more, because they're doing some rapid planning.
Right.
The
Again, I don't think it'll
problem
hurt to have that conversation, so.
Brent,
is- Yep.
have you heard anything about the extension of 45th down to our road going by the school?
Last I heard, it was
Tabled.
It was tabled or pushed back.
And the access.
It's more like a
Interstate is
2022, something like that timeline. is
The
the last I
interstate
heard.
access,
The interstate
that
access,
will be
Yeah.
8-10 out.
Yep.
There's no rush. Not because of us, just other entities, there's no hurry.
Yep. It's been pushed back or tabled. So,
Yeah, so those trucks then.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. We are looking at majority of the truck traffic associated with the schools would come in from the south
Yep.
of 17. That's most likely where they would come from.
I think it wouldn't hurt to get a hold of Jason though and
Yes.
just present that, have another conversation, just see if there's something that we can do, because otherwise that's gonna be quite ugly.
We've
Well,
talked.
I think now that we've had a conversation or made the decision that we want the roundabout, they're probably in that design phase, right?
They were.
We should have a discussion as they're going through that design. We should get a chance to influence it.
In talking briefly through email with Jason late last week, He did not have the roundabout on the agenda for county commission today. So it'd be their next commission meeting, November 3rd or 5th, I believe. At that time, they would address the intersection. However, I would not be surprised if the county's engineering staff is really starting to look into it, get the survey done. Russ mentioned there's a lot of folks out there doing survey. They have to get prep work done anyways. So, but the county has not taken action formally to say one way or another what will happen at that intersection. We've talked about ways to get around the roundabout, like a temporary access road, preliminarily. But until they start really getting designed, we really can't say one way or another if we'll have that temporary access road. So,
Okay. All right, well, it's, yeah, we'll be having more discussions on the CIP, so, all right.
yep. But you should be seeing a list of projects in the near future.
Okay.
Some general dollar amounts for some of these projects, really updating what our CIP is, revisiting it. What ones do we want to tackle when? Do we think we could afford all these, or how would we pay for them? All that kind of information. So you'll be seeing that, and discussions will be occurring throughout the next month or two here on that.
Okay, you had a question?
To just back up Chelsea, and when I've just been sightseeing or exploring neighborhoods, looking at, to back up Chelsea, when you're looking at Wall, look at the bridge there, the culvert bridge, whatever you want to call it, or the Cheyenne, because that becomes a chokehold.
Mm-hmm.
And so if they're gonna widen that, you're gonna have to deal with the bridge too, or whatever. Because I've been through there in the middle of the afternoon, when the dust cloud is high, and you got people runners, I've seen joggers, and I could just see it worse for a bicyclist or a couple of kids. You cannot see the joggers.
Right. Oh, no, like I said, there'll be,
Yeah.
it's a discussion that's gonna have to take place.
But including the widening of that.
Right.
Because that may require further permitting because it crosses a river.
Right, but that also you gotta remember, that doesn't involve strictly city, there's township involved in this. It's just, right now, it's just a checkerboard pattern going on west of the river, so. But yeah, it's, that's gonna come up. Jim, I'm sorry I missed you on that one, bud.
I missed it too. I forgot about it. But anyways, I gave you a draft
Yep.
engineering report on the proposed Lakeview Drive. Nothing final in there. You asked last Tuesday. I put some numbers together with the proposed scenario. Kind of the Cliff Notes version. Concrete street, constructed over 2 years. Urban section, curb and gutter, storm sewer. First phase would be doing the grading and the base work, stabilizing the base, leaving that for a temporary access road to the school, or a kind of a beefed up access road to school. The second year coming back, shaping the base and paving it, concrete. I haven't visited with Brenton on this yet to look at some of the street widths. I went with 2 through lanes and then a center turn lane. Could be morphed into a parking lane and 2 through lanes. It's works out. Let's see, what did I have in there for width? About 38 feet, I think I had for travel width. 36. So I'll visit with Brenton on this a little bit. If you have any comments, get back to me on it, and then we will put something together a little more formal for the next one. So.
But it gives us an idea of kind of what we're gonna be dealing with here.
Yep. And like I said, this answers pretty much a lot of the questions that you have. So if there's anything big that comes out of, like, Brenton and I meet and discuss it, and the cost changes much. But the total project cost over 2 phases is a little over 1.1, and that's with the concrete urban section. So storm sewer and everything.
The initial phase that we'll do for the school, that'll just be a gravel for
Yep.
a year or two, right? Because I don't
Yep.
want to put down cement until
Yes.
we've got that all.
Correct. Yep.
Get the schools up.
Yep. It's got a little thicker. I went with a little thicker base section just because of that.
Yeah, well, it'll just help stabilize the area too when we put the real road up there, so.
We're gonna take the level down so we can use it for the future.
Yes, this is preliminary, but yeah, that's the plan.
Anything else you want to go over with that, Jim? or
No,
fine?
I just wanted to let
Yeah,
you know
it's-
what I had put in front of you, and I made a point to get on the agenda.
I know, I'm sorry about that. I
No,
should've
that's all right.
Scribbled on here a little quicker, so.
Sarah let me know we missed it, so.
So at least we have a watchdog, that's good.
Exactly.
Keep track of us that way. All right, Brent, I'll give you general updates. Anything else you want to go over here?
General update, the only thing I had was one common or frequent complaint we've been getting over the past week is conditions of the gravel roads throughout town. We have worked with Dave Holcomb to have those graded. He did quite a bit of grading or blading today, and over the weekend he was also doing Stanley Township roads. So I know that he addressed Wall Avenue. It isn't perfect. However, when you have the conditions that we had of rain and snow and not much time for it to really dry out, you're going to get sloppy roads. That's going to happen. It's just like in the springtime when we have that thaw, because what we were experiencing, they were trying to go out Friday morning and the road was just frozen enough to where they had to wait till late in the afternoon or later afternoon to address the road. So I'm just giving you a heads up in case you are getting complaints about the road conditions. That is what is going on. But like I said, we are aware of them, and we've asked him to tackle all the gravel roads that have been problem areas. So should be making progress on that. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Question?
I live on 64th going west, and I think this year it's only been bladed twice. And with all the traffic that comes out for the shooting park, on the afternoons when the shooting park, you just hardly couldn't. And right now it's the worst it's ever been with all the washboard and all the water that sat on there. So now it's real bad. And I called Friday, she said that they're gonna try and do it Friday or Saturday, and it's not done yet. And I called today and she goes, well, I'll have to talk to see where it's at. So I'm just
Right.
checking on that because it's,
Right. I just don't know how much he got through, because I know we tried to get through, trying to do all the roads.
Yep, he was trying to hit all the problem roads. I know Wall took a lot longer. 76 he was tackling, from what I was told today. He hasn't been out there.
I'm losing feelings.
Yeah. But they are supposed to be working that in, and we've asked them to get out there and tackle it.
Well, especially knowing the roads are moist, it's just to try and get a better shot
Yep.
at it. So, I mean, I guess I can just say he's trying to get caught up.
Yeah.
just,
Yeah, no.
I've been, this spring when I called the first time, they said, well, they couldn't do it because it's too frozen. So then I waited like 3 weeks and I called her back, well, it's broken now. So when it gets fixed, then, so I'm just getting
Yeah.
about it enough is what, I mean, it's still.
Well, let's just make sure we ask him to make sure
Yep.
he's aware of that so that he knows
Yep.
and get up there.
Main thing is the shooting park traffic, that just beats it up to beat it down.
Right. They don't go down 76, now they cross over on 64th and down?
Yeah, instead of coming down County 6, they come across there.
All right.
But, and then I was trying to figure out who does the diversion road.
That would be the township.
Township does the stuff.
The diversion road on the west side of the diversion,
Yeah,
that would be Warren Township.
It hasn't been done the last 2 years.
Yep. That would be,
I called around to the city, West Fargo, or the water district or whatever, and I couldn't get anybody to say it's ours, it's theirs, it's not ours. I never did find out who should be doing it, so.
Well, I assume that was township, but I mean, that could be wrong. Because
my
it's-
understanding, the diversion road is Warren Township.
Yeah.
Is that, Jim, do you have?
As far as I know, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I talked to,
'Cause I would-
Shane Wallach, when he said 1 year Horace would do it, or Stanley Township would do it, and the next year Warren Township would do it. So it's, but now with West Fargo in the mix, that's what I mean, I don't know.
I've never heard of that ranch. I'm not saying it didn't exist before, but next time I have a chance, I talk to Warren Township. I know Jeff Fox is their individual that works with them quite a bit, and I could just mention it to him.
Just,
it was
have
brought
that
up.
conversation.
Concerns.
So we know, because
Yep.
I just assumed it was township. Then,
Yeah.
Right now, that's getting just as bad as our road, but that hasn't been done.
because it has been maintained.
No,
Yeah.
back when they did the rebuild of County Road 17, that was the bypass we used.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know.
Until I decided that it was too hard on my car.
Yeah.
So you took the nice way and tried to hit all pavement then. So you didn't lose your feelings and all that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but yes,
Well, anyway, we try to find out. I just, like I said, I assumed the township was involved in maintaining that road, but you know,
that road, from my understanding, would be out of the city limits. From what I
Yeah.
could see looking online,
Yeah,
it'd
that's
be
what I
out of the
thought.
city limits, so you'd be warned. But like I said, we'll pass it on to
Or
Jeff
Township
there, and
Stanley Township, but then, like I say, now that West Fargo's in the mix, how does that affect it?
well, they may have farther north. But yeah,
West Fargo goes up to a quarter mile. It's 3/4 of a mile is West Fargo if you wanna kinda go where the property line is. You know, it's,
oh, yeah, up in the wild side.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But as for 64th, that's within the city, and that one, like I said, will be brought up with the contractor to address that road too. So we'll throw on his list. We were given the timeline that they would be tackling it Friday into Saturday, and like I said, it's taken longer for them. I think they didn't expect it to be as bad as what it was. I know Perry brought up to me too with Wall Avenue. He said that the township put some gravel down right at the bridge, right at just west of the bridge, and they were going to spread it as far as they could get it, just to do that. So try to fix some of the problems on that. So we might run into those situations too on some of these other gravel roads.
Yep.
Yep.
Well, anyway, mention it to Jeff then, so
Yep.
he's aware of it, and we'll see what we can do. So we'll try and find out. Yeah. Anything else, Brent, that you want
Nope,
to?
that's all I had.
Well, being it's just Chelsea and I and Brian. Brian, you don't got anything you want to do on a portfolio? Being you're on the phone.
No, I think we already talked about
Yep.
all the things that I wanted to bring up, so no.
Okay. Chelsea, you want anything you want to? I know it says no report, but I got to ask.
No.
Okay. The other thing for me is on the diversion update. I had a very pleasant conversation with Tom Landwehr from the DNR, explaining the city's position, kind of just reiterating what our letter meant and what the context of that letter that the city submitted to the DNR in their last comment request. So, yeah, it was a good conversation. So at least now he knows where the city and why we're positioned where we are. So
Did any action items come out of that meeting or any?
no,
You know,
I left it just more as just a conversation, so he understood where we were coming from. And like I said, we just kind of went back and forth on a few things. And no, but I wanted him to understand why that letter was penned.
okay. So at this point, it doesn't affect. I mean, it doesn't affect the decision. We're still on track with Plan B,
Right.
right? And so we're just okay.
There'll be more conversation that comes out of this. So
Okay.
it's just right now we're not there yet. So
Right.
okay. But I just want to let everybody know that we are having conversations with the folks who are involved in the conversion issue. So that's all I got. So with that,
Motion to adjourn.
Brian makes a motion. Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Done. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, guys.